Hello folks, and this is my ride out on BikeSafe. So we started off in city centre. Oh, the guard is riding behind me, observing me. This car just pulled out and then turned off, so that was a bit one to watch out for at the very start. So we left city centre and headed out of the city. There's a few cuts in the video here and there, just when sitting in traffic and boring stuff. Keeping it easy in the city, as we were told. 50 zone is a 50, 60 zone is a 60. You get into 80 zones, you can open it up a little bit more. So this car ahead of me, I just couldn't get what they were at. They were quite slow, large gap to traffic in front. So I just kept an eye on them, kept back a bit, giving them a bit of space, try and work out what they were at. But I didn't feel very comfortable sitting behind them like this. As you can see, there's no cars in front of them impeding them. They're just crawling along. So I went and did an overtake here, which I should not have done. I got given out to later on for that move because I had crossed a solid white line. But what happened is that car then stopped and held up traffic. So the guard is actually stuck in traffic behind me. So I then had to pull in up here and wait for them. And as you can see, that's me just keeping checking my mirror to see, where are they? It's not often in the city centre you lose a traffic division guard. So I pulled in and then waited for them to catch back up with me again. So I think, looking back on my other camera, I think the guard actually had a few words with the driver of that car, whatever they were doing. So yeah, just motor on through the city then and follow the rough route I was given to make our way out. I was keeping an eye on my rear to see where the guard was indicating for me which way to go.
Straight on to the roundabout, take the second exit, you turn right. Then you go up and over a bridge. Yeah. And then we turn left. And then just follow the road straight out there.
So I'll admit I don't know this area of the city too well, so it always helps to get a few directions. I knew roughly which way I was going to head back out of the city, but more specific directions were definitely welcome. As he said, up to the next roundabout and take a right. Traffic wasn't too bad now for a Sunday afternoon in Dublin, which made it a little bit easier to get through. But as we were told, keep an eye on traffic, try and make good progress through the traffic, and make your way out of the city. Up to the roundabout. And one thing that was reinforced in us was doing our lifesavers, especially in around the city centre. Cyclists, mopeds, other bikers. Never mind pedestrians just stepping out, or cars just creeping out at junctions in front of you. So, relatively straight now, just following the roads. It's actually a beautiful day to get out on the bike, so I probably would have been out on the bike anyway, even if it wasn't for the BikeSafe course, which is certainly better than the previous time I did it, which was in the wet. So I'm just keeping an eye on my mirrors there to see where the guard is and see if there's any indications as to where we're going to next.
We're just straight down and then when you're the end of the road you turn left.
So again, simple enough directions. And one thing he did comment on with these little speed ramps here, instead of going through the centermost section of them, try and go through the left-hand side section. Gives you much more space from oncoming vehicles, just in case they creep across in any way. And one of the questions we were asked earlier in the classroom is, do you always have to foot down at a stop sign? And the answer to that is no. If you've got good visibility and you can see that there's nothing around, you don't have to come to a total stop. Unlike the American system, where a stop sign means, you must be stopped for a minimum of 2 seconds. We're a little more easygoing over here. So making our way through town, getting near the edges now, and of course this area is always busy with traffic. So it's just a case of biding our time, making the most of the route, and just following along with traffic. So as long as the cars are moving, it's not too bad. I'm making good progress getting in through the traffic. Keeping an eye on things, and I can see that there's a bus lane coming up ahead. And it's easy enough just to slip into the bus lane and make a little progress up through the traffic. Not going very fast at all, just taking it nice and handy. And then up the top here, the bus lane actually turns left, and I don't want to turn left, I want to keep going straight. And we squeeze back in through normal traffic. And then just wait for traffic to move off. So we can hit the road again. Eventually traffic starts to move. And we just follow in nicely. I used to ride a lot through the city centre, so I'm used to sitting in traffic. Doesn't bother me too much. You get fairly used to doing slow speed riding. Now afterwards I did ask about going onto the Lewis area of the track there, Lewis area of the road, and was told that's a definite no-no. Even though there's no sign of any Lewis forward or backward, it's an absolute no-go area. It's also a very dirty area because there's nothing keeping it clean, unlike the road where the tires pick up dirt and stuff. So it's not the safest area to go. And here the road opens up again, and we end up getting a nice big bus lane again to use. After you go around a stopped car, of course. And traffic starts to pick up the pace a little. So while we're told that bus lanes by the letter of the law are not legal to use for safety and making progress, you're encouraged to use them. As long as you keep your wits about you. Watch for other cars pulling in, pulling out. Never mind taxis and actual buses. So the road opens up again. And nothing too close. We're able to make good progress here. The other car wasn't far behind. He was fairly much on my inside, so I couldn't skip back in. But I did see that this gap is just big enough for me to fit my bike through. So I'll filter on through the traffic at a nice slow steady speed. And a nice big gap up front to pull into. So afterwards, chatting to the guard, he said he was impressed that I was putting my bike through gaps he didn't think I'd fit through. Make good filtering and make good progress up to the front. It's always safer for us to be up front than stuck in between cars. And this is one area I always have to be careful of with the buildings and petrol station and that on the left hand side and cars pulling out. And coming up to one of these lovely fun junctions, crossing over the M50. So you gotta make sure you pick your right lane, keep the speed up, keep it under control, and just make nice progress through the traffic. And then you've got lanes on the right hand side merging in, and then when you come over here, you have lanes from the left hand side merging in. You just gotta keep your wits about you, make your way through traffic so that you're not boxed in, and just keep it nice and steady. So again, trying to stay on the correct lane. There's no point in being in the outside lane when you're not overtaking anyone. So just stay in there, take it nice and handy, and keep movement. And then when you do come up to some traffic ahead, mirror, indicate, lifesaver, and then just pull out and make progress. So again, we were able to open it up a bit. And again, watching out for merging traffic from the left-hand side. Make progress ahead of them. And just keep it nice and steady now. And again, not too busy on the roads. So it was easy enough to get out and about. And again, when there's no one on your inside, pull into the driving lane and just keep her going. The guard did comment on my staying in the correct lane, in the driving lane, keeping that lane discipline, and moving out to the other lanes when you're overtaking and you're making progress. And again, overtake the vehicles and then pull back into the correct lane. It's one thing that's quite poor in Irish driving, and it's something that they don't actually teach you when you're doing your driving lessons in a car, that you really should be on the left-hand side lane and not sticking way out. So again, overtake the vehicle and then just pull back in again. I'm also trying to keep an eye on my mirrors to see if the guard is indicating, to see what exit we're taking. So I was checking if that one, he said no, so pull out, overtake again, and make good progress. Now I knew he, yeah, come up beside me and signal for junction 5, or exit 5 that I'm looking for. So again, able to open the bike up a bit, make good progress. So we did get slightly above the speed limit a few times, which was allowed. Difference it makes when you've a Garda bike riding with you. Cars seem to spot them slightly easier, and they move out of the way most of the time. Not always. So again, making decent speed, pulling into the correct lane. Nothing on my inside, so that made it a lot easier. This video is a good bit longer than my normal videos, mostly because it's pretty much the full ride for the BikeSafe. Yeah, it'd be so much easier for everyone if we did actually stick to the lane you're supposed to be driving in, rather than so many people hogging the middle lane and others then hogging the overtaking lane on the outside. So again, this guy is taking his time. He's slow enough. And then coming up now, coming to the junction 5 that we want. So I'm not too bothered. Pull back in and over to the lane for the exit and make progress to exit. And the guard goes over and has a word with him. Don't be staying in the outside lane when you don't need to. So coming up to the junction, taking this lane to exit and slowing down because it's a sweeping turn. And then coming up to the top here, to the junction and a roundabout, and we're going left, cross over the bridge, over the motorway. There's a lady standing there with her child, so I think the guard wanted to have a little word just to make sure everything's okay and just for safety have a quick word with them. So I noticed that he had pulled in, so when we come around this roundabout here I just slow down nicely. He's over there having a chat. And there's plenty of bikes out on the road that day. Never mind others on their BikeSafe course. So we just take it handy on down here. And I noticed the guard catching up again, so we pick up the pace again. So coming down to the bottom of this road, T-junction, turning left, and I know on the right hand side of this road is industrial. So on a Sunday, very limited chance of anything coming out of there. So we just make a look and just keep going. So one thing that was said that I need to make more use of the road and the space on the road. So when the road bends to the left, I should be much more on the right hand side, get a better observation. And these roads are tight enough, but at the same time, there's no center line. So by me moving out a little bit more and getting a better view ahead, and I'm not breaking any laws. But even for a Sunday, these are quite busy roads. Sharp enough turns, but I'm taking it nice and handy. It's a very enjoyable ride. So again, he was saying to me I should be a lot more on the right hand side there, just so I can see further down the road. And then when I do see something, nip across, because the bike has the ability to make more use of the road space than a car would. Again, good visibility ahead and just make good progress, nice and steady. So again, they were saying to me I should be a little bit more out on the right hand side just so I can see further around that bend. Extend your limit points. and it was both on the right hand side, right hand bends, and left hand bends where I should do my best to extend my view. So since the BikeSafe, I've been out plenty of times on my own. I'm just trying to do that, and I did it a fair bit today when I was out, and I felt a good bit more confident doing it. But it's like anything else, it's practice and then getting the headspace right, be a lot more confident in doing it. And it does open the road up a lot more so you can see further down, see what's coming, see how sharp that bend is, and extend the limit point. So while we were riding along doing this, one bit of advice he gave was to effectively talk to yourself. So when you're riding along, when you see gates to houses on your left or right, comment on that to yourself so that you're, one, aware of it, and two, you're mentally making note of it. And the more you do it, the further down the road you can look so you can see what's coming ahead. So what they encourage is to use the near ground, middle ground, and far down the road, and to try and extend your view as much as possible. Because the more you're taking in, the easier it is for you to make a picture of what you need to do, where you need to position your bike, and what you need to do to make good progress. And one of the encouragements from this was to join up to something like ROSPA to try and improve your riding and get further training on your riding. So I've signed up for ROSPA now, and hopefully in the next week or two I'll get out and do a bit more riding with the ROSPA crew to try and improve my riding and improve my roadcraft. So it is about sticking to the left hand side and the right hand bends and the right hand side and the left hand bends without sacrificing safety to extend that view. And again, the more I did that, the easier it was to see what's coming and to make better progress. And that'll work whether you know the roads or, as was in this case, you don't know the roads at all, really. I think I've been along here twice, ever. And the last time I was on this road was the previous BikeSafe. And there was a few people out walking as well, so you have to take that into account on a nice Sunday like it was. And that was the best day of the year we've had so far, nice and warm, plenty of sunshine, good dry roads. Perfect day for a spin. Even one where you get a little bit of education. Now these junctions have to come to a complete stop for the traffic lights here and stay in out of the way because you've oncoming vehicles coming over the bridge. Never mind all the pedestrians and cyclists and everything else. And we get a green light, watch out for pedestrians on the left hand side and the right hand side, over the bridge, and on we go. So tricky little junctions like that just get your attention, keep you alert. Nice open road, so it's easy enough to see ahead. Back bridge doesn't help, but it wasn't too bad. And coming up to the roundabout, taking the right. Watching out for cars coming from the left hand side. Quick lifesaver and accelerate away. When I first started biking, I used to hate roundabouts. Now, don't bother me at all. It's that confidence thing. The more you do it, the easier it feels. And again, you have to feel confident in the bike and in the tires and in your riding ability. Like anything else, practice, practice, practice. And again, watching out for road signs to give you indications of what's coming up. And making good use of the road, keeping out, getting the good section of road rather than riding in the dirty middle section. And it's that time of year when the farmers are all out, so roads aren't in the best state. Now again, it was a case of staying on the cleanest part of the road for better grip and traction. Rather than a slightly safer part of the road would have been the center. But your safety is key. So you're better off on the better section of road. Much more grip and much more ability to ride the bike safer. Now coming up to this junction, and this is a horrible junction because there's just so much traffic on it. So thankfully I had a Garda bike, and he decided to use his lights and sirens, stopped traffic, and let us through. Otherwise you could be sitting there for half an hour and watch people pulling in, pulling out, and then make progress again. I couldn't get why this guy was pulling in. He confused me. And even on the previous BikeSafe course, this road was extremely busy. But in general, traffic moves along fairly smoothly here. And they seem to have changed the road layout from the previous time I did BikeSafe. There's a lot more scope to overtake. And again, the roads were busy enough now in the second part of this, so not much room for overtaking here. So we just take it nice and handy. Traffic was moving nicely, so there wasn't a problem really. And you've got Western Aerodrome on the left-hand side in there. So it's a nice long straight road. And keeping the observations, having a look around, having a look in mirrors. And signposts ahead indicating the roads and the road junctions. So just keep the observations up, keep an eye where everything's coming from and going to. And coming. Speed bumps, always great fun. Not too bad on the GS, thankfully. And coming up to the traffic lights. And now just get some instructions from the guard as to exactly where we're going, which I had a good idea anyway.
Over the M4, turn right, all the way in.
Simple enough. Over the N4, turn right, and all the way back into town. So keep an eye on oncoming traffic. All clear. Quick lifesaver. And on we go. Indicating, obviously. And again, merging in with the traffic. Thing on the outside, so make an overtake. And one comment he did make afterwards was that I could have stuck to the bus lane and just used that bus lane all the way along. It's not actually something I thought of doing because traffic was moving at a decent speed. So we're just moving along nicely. I'm going to keep an eye on that car on my outside, see what it's doing. And when it moved back far enough, I make progress into the outside lane to try and overtake. But this guy ahead is just creeping along. I'll leave enough of a gap. And then he seems to, yeah, he eventually does pull in. And now we can just make progress past him. The ride back in wasn't too bad. And traffic is flowing, but it's heavy enough. It's becoming, it's about 3:30, 4 p.m. in the afternoon on a lovely Sunday. So again, finish the overtake and into the center lane. And we're still overtaking, so we keep making progress. And again, no one on my inside, so I move back into the driving lane. So yeah, I got some good positive feedback on my lane discipline. And again, overtaking vehicles, lifesaver, mirror, indicate, lifesaver, follow through. And again, coming up to traffic and into the outside lane again. Coming up again now to M50 junction. Traffic is building up. So I'm in the center lane because I'm going straight towards the city center. Left-hand lane is for M50 northbound, right-hand lane M50 southbound. But at the same time, you don't want to get stuck sitting in between two cars. So just apply a little bit extra acceleration and go through the gap between them, just for safety. And again, watching out for cars heading in the same direction and making sure they don't change lane in on top of you. And again here, merging into lanes. You've got a lane on your inside and now you have a lane on your outside with traffic merging in. So just pick up the pace, move ahead of them, make sure that they have enough room behind you, and keep going. And now traffic merging in from the left-hand side, so just making sure the bus stays where he is. I think he's going to be looking for the bus lane now. And just keeping an eye on traffic, pulling out to those lanes to turn and just make decent progress. And again, I was told that the bus lane in on the left-hand side is also a viable option for this. But in my opinion, which I spoke to him about later, I said the outside lane was empty, nothing hindering us, and we were able to make good progress. So he said, both options are viable there. And especially when you come in near the city centre, bus lane is very handy. Again, making good progress, keeping up with traffic, skipping ahead where you can. We are slightly above the speed limit, but he said as long as you're not dangerously speeding and you're just staying ahead of traffic, keeping yourself safe, shouldn't be an issue. So I'm starting to see traffic picking up ahead. Keeping an eye as far down the road as you can, seeing where they're braking, where they're slowing down, and then just making progress along. So that was one of the things that they said fairly frequently in the pre-briefing and then afterwards is about making progress. So that's not necessarily speeding, but it's just keeping yourself ahead of everything, staying safe, and being in control of your vehicle. This is the boring part. Long, straight road. It's the hard part about doing this. It's the fact that it starts off right in the city centre and there isn't a huge option other than roads like this to get out of the city centre, to get onto the good back roads. So now we're starting to see a lot more traffic lights and junctions. So slowing the speed down a bit, increasing the observations. Keep an eye on the cars on your inside and traffic lights ahead. And again, the inside lane looked at the better option, and I know there's a bus lane, and traffic does tend to break away. So making progress through, spotting a nice gap, and just move into it. And again, filtering up through traffic, and get up to the top. But green light ahead, and traffic moves off, so you just slip back into the traffic. Keeping an eye on both sides, making sure no one pinches you. And then when the road opens up, you make progress again. And again, filtering into the lane. It was said again, I could have used the bus lane here, but I thought we were making good progress, so there was no major advantage to it. Now we go for the bus lane because we can take advantage of it and make progress. Now we're coming into a more built up area. Euston train station in on the left hand side coming up. So this is always a busy area, lots of traffic, lots of pedestrians crossing over, taxis on the left hand side. So we just take it nice and handy. I was gonna go for the filter there, but the lights changed green. So it's just as easy to stick in behind the taxi and just keep going. If I was on my own, I might have nipped ahead of that white car. Then again, with no major advantage because you would have been stuck in the traffic up ahead, so just as easy to stay behind the taxi. Because the bus is in the way, there's no real space for a filter up there. And coming back into town now and heading back down along the Liffey. So it's been a while since I rode in this part of the city now, and I know the layouts have changed and where cars and that can go. So I was trying to keep my wits about me in relation to the bus lane, in relation to cyclists on the inside and cars on my outside. And I knew pretty much where I was going. So just making progress along, watching out for the buses coming in and out. And I know I'm going to go right up a good bit ahead. So I thought it's just as handy just to stay out in this lane. And again, Sunday, busy enough now into the city centre. So me and my normal riding, I'm just taking it handy here because I know it's another bridge or two and I'm actually going to be turning right. However, the lane ahead of me, or the bus lane on the inside, opens up. Since I was turning right, I thought I'm better off staying where I am and just keep going down this way. That is until yep, I got the nod going up in the bus lane. So normally I wouldn't be that cheeky, but you know, I'll follow instructions. And there's just enough room there then for me to filter on through and make progress up. And again, he said he was surprised I took that gap there because it looked a bit tight, but I thought there was plenty of room. So move on up, turning right up here, so we change across the lanes. And again, I was told
Go around him.
so again, told to go around, which normally I wouldn't be that cheeky. So I'm going right here across this bridge, so most of the vehicles are going straight, and it's only the right-hand lane is turning right. So I just did dip across into the right-hand lane. And again, come around here. It is plenty wide on this road, so I snuck up the inside. Naughty, naughty. But make it up to the front where there is plenty of space. So he said that was actually quite good use of the road because I did check around, make sure there was no cyclists around, and was able to nip up to the front. And now we're back into the city centre. Heading up by heading up in. Keep an eye on traffic because these lanes are. You've two lanes going straight and also centre and right lane turning right. But I'm going straight. Lots of cars, lots of bicycles, buses. Keep our wits about us. The outside lane here because we're going to be turning right. And then this car suddenly realizes he's in the wrong lane because he doesn't want to go right. So he has to nip across. And that's another BikeSafe course in front of us. Come up to the junction here. And the guards are a little bit impatient getting back to their own headquarters, so he pulls out and gets traffic to stop, even though we would have been gone in a minute. So back up through the junction here. Lovely smell of fish and chips from Burdocks there. And down here again. Make the left-hand turn down towards the castle. And these cobblestones, the last time I did this, as I said, was in the rain. These things are slick as hell in the rain. So just keep a nice steady pace. He knows where he's going, so he nips ahead. Gets the barrier up from security. And we pull into the back of Dublin Castle. And then up through the back of the buildings. And then back around to Garda Traffic Division section. So that was my BikeSafe course. Those who paid attention to most of it, I hope you learned something, because I certainly did. Take care everyone, and ride safe.